Chosen one. There is something inside you that has not been finished yet. Not because you have not worked hard enough, not because you have not tried, but because the thing you were actually sent here to do is still waiting, still standing at the edge of your life, quiet, patient, watching you pour your time and your capacity and your devotion into everything around it while it remains untouched. You have helped others. You have shown up for every need that presented itself. You have carried things that were not yours to carry, solved problems that were not yours to solve, and poured energy into rooms that were never meant to hold you permanently. And all the while, the deepest thing, the one assignment, the work that only your hands were built to complete, has been watching, waiting for the moment you stop, waiting for the moment you finally turn and say, "I see you. I know what you are asking of me, and I am ready." This is that moment. There is a very particular kind of exhaustion that belongs only to those who were called but have not yet answered fully. It is not the exhaustion of failure. It is the exhaustion of someone who keeps arriving at the entrance of the wrong room, working hard inside that room, and then wondering why they feel no real sense of completion when the task is done. You finish. You move on to the next thing. And somewhere beneath the motion, there is a stillness that keeps asking, but is this the thing? Is this really the thing? That question does not announce itself dramatically. It simply rises quietly from underneath every other task until you are finally still enough to hear it. If that question has been following you, do not dismiss it. Do not label it ingratitude or restlessness or the vague dissatisfaction of someone who simply wants more than what they have been given. That question is not a character flaw. That question is the voice of your calling. It does not shout, it does not force, it does not demand that you stop everything and make a dramatic announcement. But it will not stop either. It will keep rising, keep asking, keep surfacing in the quiet hours, and the still moments, and the spaces between one task and the next, until the day you finally get still enough and honest enough to hear what it has always been saying. There are signs in a life that point toward this truth, signs that most people dismiss or explain away because naming them honestly would require a response that feels too costly or too uncertain. But the signs do not disappear when they are dismissed. They only go quieter and deeper and wait. You find yourself able to begin many things but completing none of them with your whole heart. Not because you are undisciplined, not because you lack the capacity for follow-through, but because the energy required for true completion, the kind of finishing that rings all the way through your bones, the kind of completion that leaves you empty and full at the same time, that particular energy is reserved for the work you were specifically assigned to do. Pouring it into tasks that do not belong to your deepest calling is like trying to make a river flow uphill. You can push and strain and exhaust the full force of your will, but the current was never designed to move in that direction. And the strain you feel is not weakness, it is the river telling you where it was always meant to go. There is also a particular kind of guilt that accompanies this season of life. When others ask things of you, and you sense, somewhere beneath the pleasantness and the willingness, that the honest answer is no, but the word becomes tangled somewhere between your chest and your mouth, and what comes out instead is, "Yes, of course, I will help." Because you have been taught that a person of purpose serves. That withholding help from someone who needs it is a form of failure. That the measure of your faithfulness is the size of your availability. But what if that teaching, true as it is in some contexts, is not the whole truth for someone in your particular season with your particular assignment? What if every yes you give to what is not, your work is a no to what is? What if the most sacred thing available to you right now is not adding another task to the list, but finishing the one you were sent to finish? You feel it differently now. do you not? There is a quality to the places that used to energize you that is slightly duller than it once was. The invitations that used to feel like opportunity now sometimes feel like interruption, like something calling you away from a more important conversation that has not finished. Even the relationships you have cherished are pulling at you in new ways, as if something beneath the surface of everyday life is gently but persistently trying to signal a reorientation. Not abandonment, not coldness, not the turning away from love, but a kind of sacred narrowing, a holy concentrating of attention and energy toward the center of what you were built for. As if the whole of your life has been slowly and quietly arranging itself to point in one direction, and the pointing has become unmistakable. And then there are the quiet hours. Usually when you least expect it, something surfaces. An image, a project, a form of contribution you have been circling for years without ever fully landing on. You visit it in your mind and then walk away, telling yourself the time is not right, telling yourself you are not ready enough, not prepared enough, not resourced enough yet, telling yourself that other things must be handled first, that you will come back to it, that someday when the conditions align, you will finally give it the full attention it deserves. But the image keeps returning. The pull keeps building. The gravity of it increases rather than diminishes. And there is a part of you that already knows. This is it. This is the work. The wilderness is not a punishment. The long seasons of waiting, of preparation, of feeling like you are moving without arriving, of giving everything and still sensing that something essential remains incomplete. These seasons are not evidence that you have been forgotten or overlooked, or that some fault in your character has disqualified you from what was promised. They are the very method by which the one who was called is made ready to carry what they were called to carry. You do not prepare a surgeon by sending them into the operating room before the training is complete. You do not build a cathedral by skipping the foundation and hoping the walls will hold. The invisible years were not wasted years. They were loading years. They were building in the hidden places what the visible work would one day require. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before a single flame lit up on the mountain and said, "I chose you for this." 40 years of tending sheep that belonged to another household, of walking the same paths of a land that was not his home, of wondering in the long silences whether the burning he had felt as a young man would ever have a proper outlet, whether the sense of assignment he had carried since birth would ever resolve into something specific enough to act on. And what those 40 years produced was not a delayed man or a diminished man. They produced a man who had been emptied of his own ambition thoroughly enough to carry the freedom of an entire people. The wilderness stripped him of every plan that was not the plan. And when the voice finally came and named the assignment with precise specificity, he was not a man who was searching for a purpose. He was a man who finally recognized the purpose that had been written in him from the beginning. What changed was not the assignment. What changed was his readiness to receive the name of what he had always been carrying. Your wilderness has been doing that same kind of work in you. Every relationship that tested you beyond what felt fair was building your capacity for compassion that does not collapse under pressure. Every door that closed in a season when you believed with everything in you that it was the right time, that was not rejection. That was redirection, pulling you away from the room that would have consumed you before you had developed what completing your actual assignment would require of you. Every disappointment was a tool in the hand of something that knew what it was building, not an ending, not a punishment, a precise and intentional tool, used carefully, used well. And now the preparation is turning a corner. You can feel it, even if you cannot yet name exactly what you are feeling. The formation season does not end with a dramatic announcement or a heavenly confirmation that you can photograph. It ends with a quiet, inner certainty, a knowing that simply arrives one day without fanfare, sits down inside you and says, "I am ready." Not the readiness of someone who has resolved every doubt or removed all fear. The readiness of someone who has decided that the cost of not completing the work is greater than the cost of completing it imperfectly. That is the only readiness the work has ever required. Think of what you now carry that you could not have carried before the wilderness years. The depth of patience, the quality of empathy that came through being misunderstood for seasons at a time. The particular discernment that is only produced when a person learns to rely on an inward signal that had no external witnesses. These are not incidental qualities. They are the precise qualities the assignment requires. They were deposited in you through the exact experiences that built them for a purpose that is now becoming clear. There is something you should hold before we go deeper into this. Something that a small group of researchers, led by a neurologist who has spent 2 decades studying the architecture of the mind that carries a calling, discovered about the vessel itself. Not the calling, the vessel. They found that the calling placed in the chosen one was almost never the problem. The capacity of the mind assigned to carry it often was. Not through any failure of faithfulness or effort or spiritual commitment on your part. Through something that was done to the mind quietly, gradually, from early childhood onward, that most people never realize has happened to them. Something with a precise address in the physical architecture of the brain. Something measurable. Something that can actually be addressed. I will tell you what they found later in this video. But hold this question for now. What if the reason the work has not yet been completed is not only a matter of spiritual readiness? What if part of the answer has been waiting in the neural architecture all along? The work you were called to do has an adversary, and that adversary does not come from the outside. It does not arrive wearing a recognizable face of opposition. It does not present itself as an enemy you can name and prepare against. It arrives wearing the face of all the other things, all the other responsibilities, all the other people with all their very real and very legitimate needs. All the tasks that pile up and call themselves urgent and demand to be addressed before the one thing that matters most gets its turn. There is a pattern among those who carry genuine divine assignments, where the depth of their care becomes the mechanism of their delay. Because they feel deeply, they sense the needs of others with acute precision. Because they were built with the kind of generous capacity that was always meant to flow eventually toward one great purpose, they find it almost impossible to withhold that capacity when something or someone in their immediate world asks for it. And so the years accumulate in a kind of righteous busyness that looks from the outside like a purposeful life, fully lived, but feels from the inside like a faint and persistent ache. The quiet awareness that something important is being indefinitely postponed. The knowledge, carried beneath every good deed and every genuine act of service, that the one work is still waiting. You are allowed to focus. Not at the expense of love, not in coldness toward the people who need you, not by withdrawing from the relationships that are real and the responsibilities that are real, but in the clarity of a person who finally understands that you cannot pour from a vessel you have not filled, and the vessel is only truly filled by the one thing it was designed for, not by every good thing, by the specific thing. There is a difference between doing good in the world and doing yours. Good can be done by many hands. Yours was assigned to you with specificity, and no one else can complete it in your place. There is a practice that those who complete their calling develop, not through the force of willpower alone, but through a daily act of discernment, a returning, a practice that begins with a single question asked before the day fully arrives, and the noise of it fills every available space. Not what do I need to accomplish today, but what is the one motion, if I do nothing else today, that moves the unfinished work forward, not the most urgent thing on the list, not the thing that other people are waiting for. The single motion that says to the calling, "I have not abandoned you, I am still here, I am still honoring what I was given." The one motion that, however small, is a declaration of priority. A statement made not with words, but with action that says, "This work comes first." After that question, you wait. Not for instruction from some external source, not for confirmation that the direction you sense is the right one. You wait for the inner signal that has always known. The part of you that received the assignment in the first place is still fully present. It has not left. It has not forgotten. It answers when you are still enough to hear, not through dramatic revelation, through the quiet and certain rising of a knowing that was always there beneath the noise. And then you protect. You treat the time assigned to the one work the way you would treat a commitment to the most important person in your life. You do not give it what is left after everything else has had its portion. You give it the first of what you have, the first and sharpest hour before the demands of the day have found you and fragmented your attention. That hour belongs to the Melaka, to the specific work that was assigned to your hands and no one else. This is not a strategy for becoming more productive in the conventional sense. This is a practice of faithfulness to the one thing, and practiced daily, over time, it stops feeling like discipline. It begins to feel like returning home. The quiet and undramatic relief of a person who has found the center of their purpose and decided to stand in it, not once in a moment of inspiration, but every ordinary morning before the world makes its claims. There is a layer beneath everything I have said so far that I have not yet named. Not a spiritual layer, a physical one in the architecture of the mind that carries the calling. Something that determines whether the clarity of this moment can be sustained or whether it dissolves back into the same fog that has always stood between the calling and its completion. What I am about to share is not what most people expect. Before that, let me name clearly what you now hold. The signs of unfinished sacred work in a life are not weakness. They are not evidence of spiritual failure or inadequate commitment. They are evidence of divine assignment. The wilderness you walked was not random difficulty. It had a name, and the name was yours. And it was building in you the specific qualities that your specific work requires. The pattern that has kept the one work incomplete was not a character flaw. It was the natural consequence of a deep person giving their depth to everything except the one thing it was created to serve. And the practice of daily return, of asking the one question and protecting the 1 hour, is something you can begin today without waiting for better conditions. That is the truth you now carry. What comes next stands alongside it. The calling placed inside you is real, but the mind that carries it deserves a different kind of attention than most people give it. Not only spiritual attention, scientific attention. And as it turns out, those two kinds of attention, followed honestly, lead to the same place. A woman from California described her life in 4 words before everything changed. Life was happening to her. She was a nurse, a profession that requires everything a person has. She gave what the profession required and then went home and tried to give what the rest of life required. But something in her mind felt perpetually foggy, not lazy, not depressed, foggy, slow in the places where she used to be quick. Her marriage had gone quiet, in the way marriages go quiet when both people are present, but neither is fully available to the other. She had tried everything she had encountered for mental clarity and inner renewal. Meditation, frequency tracks, everything that came her way. Nothing touched the center of what was actually wrong. The research that changed everything for her had been named more than 40 years earlier by a man named Dr. Roger Sperry. In 1981, Dr. Sperry received the Nobel Prize in Physiology for proving something that most people are never taught in school or in church. The human brain has 2 hemispheres, two distinct sides. And when those two sides are operating in isolation from one another, which is the way that modern life trains the developing brain from childhood onward, the result is a mind running at a fraction of its design capacity. Slower, foggier, less connected to the flow of insight that was native to it when it was young. But when the hemispheres synchronize, when the whole brain activates together in the state that Dr. Sperry identified as the natural operating condition of a healthy human mind, the result is something entirely different. Flow, insight, the kind of effortless clarity that most people carry as young children and gradually lose without ever understanding why. 98% of children test at creative genius level. Less than 1 in 1,000 adults retain it into full maturity. What happened to the rest? It was not age. It was not the natural dimming of intelligence over time. It was a quiet and systematic process of hemisphere disconnection built into the architecture of modern life itself, happening so gradually across the years of development that no single moment announces it. By adulthood, the genius that was native to the mind in childhood has been, in the plain language of one researcher, taken at the neural level. Not through any single catastrophic event, through the accumulated effect of an environment that was never designed for whole brain living. A small team of neuroscientists, led by a neurologist in New York named Dr. Daniel Barone, spent years taking the core science of the Nobel Prize, research by Dr. Sperry, and compressing it into something that could be used without a clinical setting and without a device costing thousands of dollars. What they built is a targeted auditory sequence, 8 minutes per day, listened to through headphones with eyes closed, designed to do the one thing that modern life stopped the brain from doing on its own: reconnect both hemispheres, restore whole brain activation. This is not a brainwave track. It is not a frequency recording. It is whole brain synchronization, the exact mechanism that the Nobel Prize described, and it requires nothing from you except headphones, closed eyes, and 8 minutes. The woman from California listened for 10 days. The fog lifted. Her husband noticed, before she had fully named what was different. The marriage that had gone quiet found a voice again. 2 weeks after beginning, they were on a plane to Italy. She said simply and without drama, "My life feels enchanted now." Not because her calling had changed, not because her circumstances had resolved themselves. Because the mind that was supposed to carry her through the full expression of her life was finally operating the way it was designed to operate. This is not for everyone. Many people encountered this information when it first became available and kept moving. They settled into the fog because the fog had become the familiar, had become the assumed baseline of what the mind feels like. But you are still here, still asking somewhere beneath the motion of your days why the mind assigned to carry a divine calling is not operating at the level that the calling requires. That question, the one that will not leave you alone, even in the middle of a full and outwardly successful life, is not impatience. That question is discernment. The colleagues of Dr. Barone suggested this technology would be a reasonable value at $500. To put that in context, in-person neurofeedback sessions, the clinical equivalent of what this track delivers, run approximately $300 per hour. An at-home neurofeedback device costs approximately $7,000. Dr. Barone removed the intermediaries and made the sequence available directly through his team page at $49. Because you stayed with this video all the way to this point, that same page offers it today at $39. An additional $10 removed. Available only on this page, only today. With that comes 4 additions included at no additional cost. A guided visualization from a creator featured on one of the most widely used meditation platforms, designed around 4 areas of life: where whole brain clarity makes the greatest measurable difference. A grocery guide identifying 10 foods found in most American households that have been shown to produce and sustain the kind of brain fog that most people assume is simply normal aging, along with 5 practical approaches to reduce grocery costs by more than $100 per month at standard stores. A classic text on the attraction of financial abundance, more than 100 years old, and considered by many researchers to be the foundational document from which most modern manifestation teaching derives, available on major book platforms for $20 and included here at no additional charge. And a printed habits guide summarizing 5 daily practices that Dr. Barone and his lab team use themselves to sustain whole brain performance over the long term. And if 8 minutes a day practiced consistently over 2 weeks does not produce a noticeable shift in how the mind operates, not through mood alone, but through the measurable quality of clarity and connection, every cent is returned. No questions asked, no conditions, no limit on the number of sessions already completed. One clarification worth making before moving on. If you search streaming platforms or video platforms for audio tracks with similar names or similar descriptions, you will find many of them. Dr. Barone and his team examined a significant number of those tracks when they began receiving questions about them. Most had no neural synchronization technology embedded at all. The names and descriptions were placed there for search visibility and algorithmic reach. The actual sequence, the one built on years of precise development and clinical research, is only available through the Team Direct page. There is a reason the distribution was kept entirely direct, and Dr. Barone explains it himself on the page. If you are ready to find out what 8 minutes can begin to do for the mind that was built to carry your calling, the link in the description and in the pinned comment is where Dr. Barone made it available. You were not made for the endless middle, the place where many things begin and none of them fully resolve, where the best hours of the day are given to needs that are genuine but are not yours to permanently carry, and the calling waits at the end of the list for whatever capacity is still standing when everything else has been served. That place has a gravity. It pulls with the full force of every real obligation and every genuine relationship and every good thing that needs doing. It calls itself responsibility and duty and love, and some of what it calls itself is true. But underneath the truth of those labels, in the quiet that comes when you are alone enough to hear it, you know the difference between the weight of what you chose and the weight of what chose you. Those two weights feel different. They have always felt different, and you know it. The weight of what chose you is different. It does not present itself as an obligation. It presents itself as a recognition, a returning to something that was always familiar. A knowing that requires no external validation and needs no one else to confirm it. It says, "This is mine," not as an act of selfishness, as an act of truth. This is the work that was written in me, and now something in you is done postponing it. You are allowed to complete the thing you were sent to complete. You are allowed to protect the hours that belong to it. You are allowed to say no to the things that will not build what you were asked to build. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that believed total availability was the same as faithfulness. You are allowed to stop needing the approval of people who were never given authority over your assignment. You are allowed to put the melaka first. You are allowed to disappoint some expectations in service of the one calling that cannot be transferred to anyone else. You are allowed to begin without being fully ready and to trust that the readiness will meet you inside the motion of the work. And more than that, you are called to, because this work is not only for you. There are people on the other side of your completed assignment who are waiting, not in the abstract, theological sense of everything ultimately being connected. In the specific sense that there are people whose lives will shift because of something you finished, not something you started, not something you gave time to between other tasks, something you completed, something you refused to abandon when the completion became costly and difficult and uncertain. Something you honored above every other voice that asked you to look away from it. Those people are waiting for what only your particular combination of gifts and wounds and formation can produce. Every day the work remains incomplete is another day they wait. When Moses stood at the edge of the sea with the army of Egypt closing from behind and the water unmoving before him, there was a moment that most people pass over when they tell the story. The people behind him were screaming. They were certain it was over. They were measuring the distance between the army and their position and calculating that the numbers did not favor survival. And Moses, in that precise moment, did not reach for a plan. He reached for the one thing he carried that was not his own, the settled knowledge of what he had been sent to do. This was the work, not the management of the crowd or the negotiation with Pharaoh or the logistics of keeping 3 million people fed and moving. This was the specific assignment, the singular thing, and he raised his hand. The sea moved for a man who had spent 40 years in the wilderness, being emptied of every agenda that was not the one agenda. For a man who stood at a burning bush and heard something so specific, so utterly different from every expectation he had built about himself across 8 decades of living, that his first response was not obedience. It was argument. I am not the person for this. I cannot speak well enough. I am not the right one. Find someone who is more equipped, more ready, more certain of their own capacity than I am of mine. And what he heard in return was not a catalogue of strengths, not a promise that the path would be easy. Simply this: I know what I am sending you for, and I am sending you. That is the word that waits for every chosen one who has been circling their assignment for years. Not, here is proof of your preparation, but I know what I am asking, and I am asking it of you because it belongs to you and cannot be transferred. The internal argument between who Moses believed himself to be and who he was assigned to become ended at the burning bush. Not through the miraculous disappearance of every doubt. Through a decision, the conversation reached its natural end. And he stopped arguing and started walking, and the sea parted when the foot was in the water, not before. You are at that kind of threshold. Not necessarily in a dramatic form. It may not present itself with fire and a visible sign. It may feel like a quiet clarity you have been circling for a long time without fully landing in. The settled sense of assignment that has been waiting for the arguing to end. The debate about your readiness and your adequacy and the timing and the conditions and what other people will think. That debate has had its full season. It is allowed to conclude now. In the Hebrew tradition, the word used in the book of Exodus for the specific work assigned to each craftsman in the construction of the tabernacle is melakah, not general labor, not willingness to work on whatever needs to be done. Melakah refers to the precise assignment that belongs to a particular person, the specific craft, the exact contribution, the one thing that this person and no other was given to complete. Each craftsman was not handed a general list of tasks and told to choose from it. They were given their melakah, their one thing, with precision, with specificity, with the implication that this particular work, done by this particular person, was essential to the completion of the whole. And the structure that was built through each person completing their specific melakah became a dwelling for the divine presence itself, not because it was large or expensive or strategically located, because it was precise, because every single piece was completed by the specific person it was assigned to, with mastery and singular focus and the full investment of their particular capacity. And when every piece came together, the whole became something that no single pair of hands could have constructed alone. a dwelling place for the presence that had been waiting for it. Your melaka is not a general good intention to contribute to the world. It is not a role that someone else could fill if you stepped away. It is the specific expression of purpose that the full design of your life, the training of your wilderness years, the combination of your particular gifts and your particular wounds and your particular hard-won understanding uniquely qualifies you to make. There is no substitute, not someone very similar to you who could do something approximately equivalent, you, specifically, with this exact history, for this exact season. Because the space in the structure that is waiting for your piece holds precisely the dimensions of what only you carry. There will be voices that tell you the work can wait. Some of what they say will carry a surface truth, but beneath those voices lives something older and quieter. The knowledge that the work does not stop needing to be done simply because other things have declared themselves more urgent. Urgency is not the same as importance, and not everything that is urgent is yours. A chosen one who has not yet finished their work is not a failure. They are a promise still in motion. But a promise in motion requires motion, not someday motion. Not conditional motion that waits for the feeling of full readiness before the first step is taken. The kind of motion that says, above everything else that is asking for my attention today, this work will be honored. This piece of the sacred construction will not be left incomplete while I manage the more comfortable version of my life. The motion that begins today, in whatever form is available today. In whatever small and imperfect and possibly awkward first step is available in this hour, because the sea parts when the foot is in the water, not before. There is a freedom on the other side of this decision that most people never fully experience, because they never fully make the decision. Not freedom from difficulty, not freedom from the pulls of love and obligation and the complexity of a fully inhabited life. The freedom of a person who has found the center of their purpose and decided to stand in it without apology, who has ended the negotiation, who has said, I choose the work. I choose it above the comfortable, above the approved, above the convenient, and has begun. That freedom does not arrive as a feeling before the decision is made. It arrives as the consequence of the decision. The decision produces the feeling, not the other way around. The sacred work of completing what you were sent to do is not a burden. It is the deepest form of rest available to a soul that has been carrying the weight of unfinished purpose for a long time. Not rest from effort, rest from the ache of perpetual incompletion. The rest that comes when the design in you is being honored, when the promise that was written in you before you had a name is being kept, when the calling and the living have finally come into alignment, and the effort and the assignment are pointing in the same direction. What you are deciding in this moment, in the space of this video, in the private conversation happening between you and what you have always known, is not merely a practical matter of time management or personal priority. It is a spiritual act, the act of a person who says, I trust the assignment. I trust that the one who placed it in me also placed alongside it everything I need to complete it. I trust that the years of preparation were not detours from the purpose. They were the building of the purpose itself, layer by layer, season by season, in ways that I did not have the distance to understand while I was inside them. To the one who has been pouring themselves into everything except the thing, hear this. You have not missed the window. The calling has not expired. The invitation you have been half approaching and half avoiding for years is still standing. And it is saying to you now, with the full weight of everything you walked through, this is the season. Not eventually. Now, the person who completes their calling does not look like someone who found more discipline or more favorable circumstances. They look like someone who stopped negotiating with the assignment one ordinary day, who understood that the motion itself was the answer to the fear and who began. In the small and imperfect and sometimes awkward form that beginning always takes. Think of the craftsmen in the wilderness, each holding their melaka, each approaching their specific piece of the sacred construction with the full investment of their capacity. The tabernacle was not built by people who each attempted the entire structure. It was built by people who each gave everything to the one piece that was theirs to complete. And when every person completed their piece, when every melaka was honored, the whole came together into a dwelling place for the presence that had been waiting for it. A structure that no single pair of hands could have built. A structure that required every specific person to do their one specific thing. Your work is that kind of piece. Not in the metaphorical sense that everyone matters in the general project of human contribution. In the literal sense that there is a structure being built in the world, and it has a piece-shaped space where your contribution belongs. That space holds the exact dimensions of your particular understanding, your wounds made into wisdom, your wilderness turned into vocabulary that others will recognize because they have been in the same wilderness and have not yet found words for what it taught them. Your voice, shaped by every season that tried to silence it. Nothing else fits there. No approximate substitute, no close equivalent. You, as you are now, with what you have been given through everything you have walked through. There is a man whose story comes to mind. He carried a calling to write. He had sensed it since childhood, had known it in the way that certain people simply know things that have no explanation. He began the work 9 times over 7 years, each time arriving at the deepest and most demanding part of the assignment and retreating, not because the calling was wrong, not because the direction was mistaken, because something in the mind stood in the way every time he reached the part of the work that required his fullest capacity. He described it as a wall of grey that descended whenever the work asked the most of him. He was not a person lacking in discipline. He showed up. He studied. He prepared carefully. He returned again and again to the beginning of the work, but the beginning was where he stayed. When the architecture of his mind changed, when what had been disconnected for years was finally reconnected, the book came together in 6 weeks. The piece of work that had resisted him for 7 years, that had stood behind that wall of grey for 7 years, resolved in 6 weeks. Not because the calling changed, not because the circumstances changed, because the instrument that was supposed to carry the calling was finally operating the way it was built to operate. He described it simply. He said, "I finally stopped feeling like the wrong person for the work I was given." You are not the wrong person for the work you were given. You were the only person for it. Every season that made you feel unqualified, every delay that made you question the assignment, every closed door that made you wonder if you had misheard the calling, none of that was disqualifying you. It was qualifying you in ways that could not yet be seen from inside those seasons. What is being asked of you now is not to believe that without any reservation. It is to move as if it were true long enough for the motion of the work to confirm it from the inside. Say this in the space of your own knowing, not aloud unless that is your practice. But let the words form fully in the place where the calling lives. I was given a specific work. It was not given to anyone else. I am done negotiating with the calling. I am done postponing the assignment in service of the comfortable version of life. The work that only I can do, I choose to do, beginning now. Beginning in whatever small and available motion today allows. I choose to protect the hours that belong to it. I choose to return to it when other things pull for my attention. I choose to complete what I came to complete. And I trust that the one who assigned the work already placed in me everything the work actually requires. Not everything I think I need, everything it needs. I am enough. The formation was sufficient. The wilderness produced what the assignment requires. The work is not waiting for me to become someone different. It is waiting for me to become someone certain. And remember, the genius switch is not a shortcut. It is not a technique or a gimmick or an external substitute for the inner work of commitment. It is a restoration. 8 minutes of a targeted auditory sequence built on Nobel Prize science, designed to reconnect the two sides of a mind that modern life has quietly divided from itself over the course of a lifetime. If you were chosen for the completion of a specific divine assignment, and if you have carried the fog, the slowness, the sense that the mind given to you for this work is not yet operating at the level the work deserves, this is the science that addresses what spiritual commitment alone cannot address. The link in the description is where Dr. Barone made it available. If something in this video landed in the place where the calling lives, there is one thing you can do right now that costs nothing. Leave a word in the comments, not an explanation of the calling, not a justification for anyone who might read it, just the name. One word or one phrase. The most honest thing you can say about what the Malaka is that was written in you, because naming it, even here, even in this small and quiet way, is the first motion of claiming, and claiming is the first motion toward completing. The work begins the moment it is named as the priority. There is also someone in your life who is carrying this same quiet ache, the sense of something unfinished beneath a busy and outwardly purposeful existence. A person who has been giving everything to the peripheral things and feeling the weight of that in the hours when nothing is being asked of them and the incompletion is loudest. Share this with them, not as a casual suggestion, as an act of recognition from one chosen one to another who is, in their own season, finding their way back toward the work. And if this kind of conversation, one that takes the calling of the chosen one seriously enough to sit with the weight of it, that does not reduce it to simple inspiration or to the comfortable language of general blessing, but actually engages with what it costs and what it demands and what it produces in the life of someone who honors it. If this is the kind of conversation you want to return to, then stay close to this channel. What is coming is for those who decided not to leave. The work is real. The calling is real. The time is not eventually. The only job from now on is the one that was written in you before any other job was offered. Honor it. Complete it. Begin.